You are seeing this because I'm on holiday. I'm currently living it up on an unnamed Canary island. Let's just leave it at that. And when I go on holiday, we do Q&As on the channel. That stands for questions and answers, Rangers fans lurking. No messing around, no waffling. Let's just get into it. Oh, two quick things before we start. One, these are in no order at all. And two, I am recording this on Friday the 25th of November, so if anything has changed by the time you're watching this, it's not my fault. Right, first up, Matt O. Has any World Cup match evoked Champions League memories for you? Canada reminded me of watching Celtic, and Costa Rica reminded me of the worst team in UCL history. Matt, you don't even care about the question, do you? That was just an excuse to rub their noses in it once again. The worst team in Champions League history. And I respect it from you. I respect the pettiness, honestly. And I'm not even going to answer the question because I know you don't even care about an answer. Well done, Matt. Next up, Donny Tiny Hands. How far do you think Ange can take Celtic? Got a few of these kind of questions. Similarly from Big Tone, how long do you think Ange will stay at Celtic? So if I group these two together and I was having a wee think, I don't think Ange is daft. Now that may come as a massive shock to you all. I really don't think the guy is daft at all. I think he wants to further his career. I have no doubt that he wants to manage in the best league that he can, and let's face it, for managers certainly, it's the English Premier League at the moment. He will have aspirations to manage in the English Premier League at some stage in his career. But I think what also really gets Ange going is doing special things that people talk about for years to come. And he's at a very special club at the moment. And if he can do a special thing or special things at a special club, then I think it will mean so much to him. And we know what I'm talking about. We know I'm talking about Europe here. Let's be honest. It may not actually come, this really special thing, because special things aren't easy to do. They wouldn't really be special if they were. So I don't think we should just assume that Ange is going to achieve something magical with Celtic in Europe, but I think he's going to give it a proper go. And I think that means, at least 2 more seasons of European football and trying to achieve something. So if you're asking me, and I don't even know if you are asking me, I guess one of the questions was, the first one, what my official prediction is for the limit for Celtic under Ange. I'm going to go bold, and I want to hear no criticism for the rest of history of me sitting on the fence on any topic. I think Ange will take Celtic to the Champions League last 16 before he leaves the club, and I think we'll do it by playing his attractive, fearless, attacking brand of football. Does that answer your question? Right, anyway, Dave H. With all the talk of needing a new striker, is it realistic to think that in the summer it could be a marquee name that shows intent? Could we tempt Dembele back, brackets not Karamoko? I would guess that someone like Dembele would be kind of out of our orbit at the moment. I think he's moved on, and he as much as he's not really been playing for Lyon, I think he's been struggling a little bit this season, or a fair bit. I think he'll still find a suitor in the English Premier League again, or even La Liga. I know he's already played for Atletico or Serie A or somewhere like that. So I don't think he will want to come back to Scotland. I don't think it's genuinely an option. Hopefully I'm wrong. I'd love to have him back. I think it's more likely to be someone fitting the Dembele in 2016 kind of model, or Edouard a year or two later. I think that's the way I certainly want Celtic to go in terms of the third striker, a youthful striker, 19, 20, 21 years old, someone who can come in and be maybe third choice at first. I think people forget that when Edouard first came to Celtic, he wasn't first choice, he wasn't even second choice. He came in behind Dembele and Lee Griffiths, who were important players for us at that stage, and over time, albeit not a great amount of time, and it was certainly expedited, fancy word, when Dembele moved on, I think a year later, and he suddenly kind of seemed to become our main man. I've completely lost what I was saying there, sorry. Yeah, so that's what I would look for us to do, to bring in a younger striker, someone who in time can become our number one striker, because let's face it, Kyogo and Giakoumakis are unlikely to be around forever. And I honestly think someone with a little bit of finesse, Edouard especially, Dembele had a fair bit of it, both of them knew how to score, would be kind of what we need for that third option. Obviously Kyogo certainly has that. He's real, energetic, pressing forward. Giakoumakis is more of just a poacher and a goal scorer. Although, Giakoumakis can run around as well, and equally Kyogo can be a poacher. So I think that third kind of striker with a little bit more finesse and creativity may be what we're after, but who knows? Ange will know better than this idiot sitting right here. John Kerr. Will Ange be able to bring or afford the type of player his next level comments mean? We're talking a high quality of player. Now, as I understand it, and again, Ange will know far better than me. Maybe I should just get that in a t-shirt. Ange will know far better than me. I'm going to get that in a t-shirt for the future. My understanding of how this kind of transfer strategy that we've heard a bit about lately, about Celtic being agile, aggressive in the transfer window. My understanding of how that would work is, for example, we sign Josip Juranovic for, I think, £2.5 million. We sell him for significantly more than that. For argument's sake, let's call it £15 million. Sell him in January for £15 million, and we sign his replacement, be it Alistair Johnston, be it someone else, for more than we bought Juranovic for. So maybe we spend £5 million on a right back. That's kind of how I understand it, this whole thing would work. I think it only works if Ange is given a healthy portion of the money we make from transfers to make replacements for those players we've lost. I do genuinely believe that we'll see a real improvement in a number of our players in Europe next season. I think this campaign, as bruising as it was at times in the Champions League, will have served them very well. I'm talking about the likes of Hatate, O'Reilly, Kyogo, Jota there. I don't think any of them really lived up to our expectations. I know Jota had injuries, etc. But, I think going forward they will be better. Maybe in some other positions we could do with recruits. I think quality in the wings was an issue when Jota was missing. Aaron Black. Hamish, how far do you think the likes of Jota and Hatate, just talking about them, can go in the game? Personally, when he's on his day, Hatate is the best player in Scotland. I think they are the two in our current team that will go to the highest level. I think Matt O'Reilly's in there as well. I think Jota will play for Portugal next World Cup. They do still have pretty good options, Portugal, even when the likes of Ronaldo retire. But I think Jota's good enough to certainly be in the squad, and I think he'll play for a big club in a major league. I think this has been the move for him to Celtic that has kind of got his career going, because he had so much promise in his early career. He was kind of spoken about as being one of the most exciting players in Portugal, even at one point more highly regarded than João Felix, and you see what he's doing now. So I think Jota will go and play for a big club in a major league. Obviously, he's already at a big club, but in a major league. And I think Hatate will play with a good club as well. Maybe not quite at the same level, but that's just my thoughts. As I say, O'Reilly, I think, will do well as well. Eddie Quigley, what are two positions or players you would sell or move on, and two you would like us to strengthen? Right, this is a really interesting one. I think the Juranovic stuff is one I would have said before. Even in the summer when we got that bombshell Fabrizio Romano report about Juranovic being wanted by Premier League clubs or whatever it was Atletico Madrid actually, they're not in the Premier League. I think I felt at that stage that he was one of the likely ones to be maybe spoken about first, moving away from Celtic, just kind of given how high profile the Croatia national team actually is at these competitions, World Cup runners-up last time. And the fact that he plays every game for them and does quite well for them, I felt he would be picked up upon. And also the fact that his career trajectory has suggested that he doesn't spend too long at clubs. When we signed him from Legia Warsaw, I think he'd only been there a season. So maybe something similar happening at Celtic was always in the offing. Who else would I move on though? Right, are you ready? You all ready for a a controversial take. Liel Abada. I think he's a talented player who is young, and we could get big money for him. Again, I think £15 million would be reasonable for Abada, given his age. Now, I know people might look at the fact, £50 million for a guy that can be quite hit or miss, but I think when you look at what he's produced for us, and again, his age, he has so much potential, but I just wonder if he's good enough for us at Champions League level. And I just think that's one, potentially, if a bid was to come in for him. I feel like he's the kind of guy that would be spoken about at some clubs, especially when he's scoring goals. David Turnbull potentially as well. I know he's not a real starter for us at the moment. Is he going to cut it in an Ange team that is only going to get better and better? I like Turnbull. I think you could argue at times this season he's almost been left behind slightly with some of the football we've played. And final one, again, this is maybe controversial. It's not my suggestion because I love him, of course, but I wonder about Giakoumakis. I wonder if it'll be a case of another team coming in with an offer for Giakoumakis that we kind of take a look at and go, you know what, that's a pretty decent offer for where we're at the moment. And again, given that we didn't spend much money on him, I just think teams in other leagues are lazy. Well, football in general, is pretty lazy, and teams tend to look at players who are scoring goals. And Giakoumakis scores a lot of goals, and I just wonder if he's the kind of player who could be prized away, kind of surprisingly, sooner than we'd like. Maybe sooner than Kyogo, for example, when everyone kind of thinks Kyogo's the one who's going to go away and play in another league. Maybe it could be someone like Giakoumakis. I'm just realising I've just sold, I think, half of Ange Postecoglou's team, so I bet you're glad you asked that question. We're going to move on and chat to Charles Sweeney. How's your Ange book doing? What's it called? Where can one purchase it? Making any dough from it? Just very briefly, in case you're not aware, I have written a book on Ange Postecoglou at Celtic. That kind of answers the first part of your question, Charles. My writing has done. It's been done for a couple of months. It's at the kind of other stages now, proofreading. I'm clueless in this. Printing, I guess, cover, illustrations, all that kind of stuff. The book is called Never Stop. I dropped the "we" at the start just to make it sound a little bit cleaner. It will be out in March, I believe, not confirmed yet, but I believe we're looking at a kind of mid-March release date. You'll be able to get it online, in store, etc. In terms of the money, it depends on how many people buy it. That's where you wonderful lot come in. Don't worry, I'll remind you nearer the time. It covers Ange's journey from coming into Celtic all the way to the start of the Champions League campaign. A chat to loads of people who have worked with Ange in the past. I talk about the big momentous moments and matches at Ange's time at Celtic so far, and plenty of other fun stuff as well. So I do think you'll enjoy it, but we can kind of revisit this in a few months' time. And we're finishing with an absolute corker here from Thomas Martin. Listen to this. If Lennon won the 10, we wouldn't have binned him. Therefore, we wouldn't have Ange or this squad. Would you rather have won the 10 or got Ange? Can I just applaud that question? See, the next time we do a Q&A, this is a kind of question we are after. I love ones where you have to kind of think of things that happened and consequences and good and bad. It's almost like the Scottish Cup semi-final we lost to Rangers in 2016 on penalty kicks. Had we won that, the knock-on effect, Ronnie Dyler probably keeps his job, probably manages Celtic the following season. We don't get Brendan Rodgers. We don't get 4 trebles in a row. And I think this one's even more difficult. I mean, we all know how much I wanted to win the 10 in a row. You just have to go back to that whole season and look at my face throughout it. It was just permanently like that. In fact, it was worse than that at times, and I had to do live videos and stuff with people laughing at me. But if you look at how much joy Ange Postecoglou and this team have given us all over the last, close to 18 months, just under, and if the choice is you either won the 10 and I dare say Neil Lennon's still managing, or we didn't win the 10, we won the 9, and we've got Ange Postecoglou, I wouldn't change, the way things worked out and got us to this point. I 100% wouldn't. I think we're part of a really special time, a genuinely special time to be a Celtic fan. I've not felt a connection between the Celtic support and the team. Put it this way, and again, this may be a controversial statement. I'm kind of specialising in them on this video. I think we celebrated last season's title more kind of emphatically and just better than we would have celebrated winning 10 in a row under Neil Lennon. Take away the COVID bit, by the way. I mean, last season's celebrations where we won the league, that trophy day, the atmosphere that day was amazing. The partying in the town after it. Now, there would have been a party had we won 10 in a row, but I don't know if it would have been any better than what we got last season. And that whole season last year, it's one of my favourite ever. In fact, it is my favourite ever supporting Celtic. It was just completely magic. So I guess that answers your question. As I say, it's darkest before the dawn, and it certainly was dark in the COVID season. But God, what we've had since then under Ange has just been amazing. So I wouldn't change it. Let us know your thoughts on anything in this video, but specifically that last question. Yeah, I liked that one. Right, I'm going to say goodbye. I think we've got plans for more videos this weekend. Once I'm home, we'll see what state Hamish is going to be in after a 5-day holiday with the lads watching the World Cup in an unnamed Canary Island. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll speak to you soon.